everybody. It's Katie Swayne, Director of Alumni Affairs. We're here again with our July Alumni Highlight. And of course, we have Randy Friend, our President of the Alumni Association, to lead our interview today. So, Randy, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Katie, and welcome back, everybody, for another wonderful interview. One I'm pretty excited about on this one. I have a lot of questions for Dr. Justin Arner, only because I just went through rotator cuff surgery. So we're going to hit on all the things that is wrong with me right now. But before we dig into that, I'm going to let Justin just do an introduction of himself, a little bit about his background, and then we're just going to start talking about how you got to Shepherd all the way to what you're doing now and some of the amazing things that I've had an opportunity to kind of dig in. So, Justin, a quick introduction for everybody joining us today.
Thanks, Katie and Randy. I'm really excited to talk with you guys today about this. Shepherd has a special place in my heart. I met my wife there. She went to college there, and my best friends are still, former college athletes and the guys I went to college with. So this is really exciting for me too. I'm almost giddy. It's so exciting. So I graduated in, I guess, 2009 from Shepherd. I was a biology major. I grew up in a small town in Western Pennsylvania between Erie and Pittsburgh named Clarion. And I ended up, I played football, basketball, and baseball in high school. And I was looking for a place to go to medical school. And I was interested in orthopedic surgery. I had a shoulder dislocation when I was a senior in high school playing football. And then I had surgery by Jim Bradley, who's actually my partner now here in Pittsburgh, an orthopedic surgeon when I was 17. So I kind of fell in love with the opportunity after watching him in the operating room and seeing him see patients and seeing the Steelers with him. He's been the Steelers doctor for over 30 some years, so it's an honor to help him do that now. But I wanted to go to medical school, and I came across these different types of programs that allow you to have early acceptance or guaranteed acceptance if you keep certain GPAs and things. And my mom actually, funny enough, came across a press release when she was in a deep Google dive back in 2000. I guess that would have been 2008. I'm sorry, 2004 or five, and found this press release. And there was really not any information out there, but there weren't too many programs like it. But the MedStep program with a cooperative medical school program with WVU. So you can see in my back my Shepherd football helmet I found in my jerseys and my WVU logo that a patient got for me a couple years ago. So I went down and interviewed with folks at the university at Shepherd, and I really loved the campus. It was really interesting and such a beautiful area I'd never been to before, right along the Potomac, as you can see in your background there. And it was a small school, which is what I wanted, and was interested in playing football. And I really liked the proximity to Washington, D.C., and it was just felt like a real family, welcoming atmosphere and quite a bit of diversity in a liberal arts school, which is something I was interested in that breadth of education along different fronts. And then I interviewed the same day with Rosemary Canarella, who's family doctor that's been in Harper's Ferry for decades, her whole career, and really a special person. And the rest of the folks with that newly formed Eastern Division back in 2004, I guess it was, and had a great experience there. I remember having dinner at the Thai restaurant in downtown Shepherdstown with my mom and dad afterwards, and walking around the adorable town with all the history and those old buildings, and the battlefield so close by Antietam, and going to Burnside Bridge and everything like that. It's such an interesting area and beautiful area. So I really fell in love with my visit there. I really planned on going to, maybe a Northeastern liberal arts school and playing football there. And when I went there with the opportunity with the MedStep program, once I was accepted there, I thought there wasn't really a way for me to say no with that opportunity. And I remember coming back to talk to Dr. Bradley, who, is my partner now, I mentioned before, and did my surgery, and ask him, should I go to one of these schools that, these very expensive Northeastern schools, and apply to medical school and be a biology major or whatever, or I could take the MCAT and have to get this minimum score and keep a certain GPA average, but would keep a spot at WVU. And he agreed it was kind of a no-brainer to take the opportunity at Shepherd. So it was an outstanding opportunity. When I got there and met people from all over as part of the the football team, people of different backgrounds that from DC, and it was special. And we all had this goal that was a common goal, and Dr. or I'm sorry, Monty Cater was such a special coach, really focused on academics and let us, do labs and be late to practice, which, is challenging. There's timing with these certain classes to graduate on time, and they were so flexible with all of us, realizing, that was the role. And the same thing with weightlifting times and days and everything. They really were flexible with that, which was really awesome. And like I said, I made just amazing friends from all over the state and out of state that I just was with actually last weekend. Meeting one of my friends that lives in Washington, D.C. now, that's doing awesome things as a historian for the Department of Defense, Richard Hulver, and a friend who's a dentist that was in the dental program that works in Harrisonburg as a dentist. My other great friend who's has a law degree now and works as a PhD scientist who went to USC afterwards. And they're really doing awesome things, all over the country. So it's a special place. I could talk for hours about it, but I'll let you see if you have other questions or thoughts.
Yeah, no, we appreciate that. It's always great. And you gave us a great kind of overview of how you got to Shepherd, which was a lot of my questions, really, knowing that you had played football and kind of trying to figure that out. But I do was very aware of the MedStep program. I thought it was a great opportunity for folks. Obviously, like yourself, it gave that kind of opportunity going to WVU to be able to do, kind of that pre-med track associated with that. So tell me, obviously you did your time, you finished at Shepherd, you went on to WVU's, kind of the School of Medicine to do all that. Take us through like how that got you from there to really kind of where you are today. Obviously you're with UPMC Orthopedics. You're doing the great stuff with the Bradley Sports Medicine with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It also looks like you really work with the ski and snowboard team for the U.S. Is that true?
Yeah, I've had a lot of some opportunities, and I think it really started at Shepherd. I have such fond memories, and actually, I still keep in touch with Dr. Jack Schmidt. I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
remember him. He was a chemistry professor there for decades and decades. I became really close friends with him, and when I went back for my third year and fourth year back in Martinsburg for the Eastern Division of the WVU rotations in medical school, I went to church with him when I was a student and afterwards, and really have become, I was really good friends with him and still in contact with him. He lives in Utah, but people like him and Bert Litterjing and all
Mhm.
these professors that really had these amazing backgrounds. I mean, remember I had a historian that, worked for the federal government, and basically they have these amazing jobs for the government and retire and then, want to teach and kind of give back and get that fulfillment. So it was just amazing the professors that we had at this little school that was in West Virginia that I really hadn't heard much about before. But you have these people with just these crazy stories, and I took a Russian history class and hearing stories that this person that I was one of our teachers, their interactions during the Cold War and were working in the federal government, or Bert Litterjing, how the Reston virus of the Ebola strain, and they made movies about basically his experience in Reston, Virginia, with these Ebola and these monkeys, and having virology from the guy that ran Fort Detrick virology was a pretty special opportunity. And going to dinner at their houses as part of the MedStep program or other, I don't think you get that many places. And I
Right.
think if you reach out to any of those people now, like I said, I still talk to Dr. Schmidt. They remember you. They really had a buy-in with you. And for me, that's been such an important thing growing up, especially in a small town where that was important. The values of people, and I think it was just shocking how many opportunities there, and there are great restaurants there. It's just such an interesting, somewhat eclectic region. The C&O Canal Path right there, and it was just such a special place. And taking the metro and bus trips to Washington, D.C. was just outstanding. So I think it really, opened my eyes, and the same thing with diversity of our football team and other people. I met people from all different backgrounds and become friends with them. And I think that really, helps you interact with patients and people
Yeah.
and everything like that. So, I went to medical school, like you mentioned, at WVU, and it made me really appreciate, I think, Shepherd even more, being that small community, life where everyone is so supportive, and being in a bigger school is special in a different way. But yeah, I was able to continue to do research as a medical student with Dr. Bradley. As I was in college and in medical school, whenever I was taking the breaks in summer, spring break, or whatever, I would go and shadow Dr. Bradley and other doctors like Bob Armstrong in my hometown, who unfortunately passed away from a heart attack a year ago. But um, spending time with them, learning more about medicine, the MedStep program really allowed me, I think, to have more clout for, rather than just being a pre-med student. You were kind of pre-accepted into medical school, which was really a great opportunities it allowed for me. So I was able to get those better opportunities, I think, which helped me get into residency. So then, I was an orthopedic surgery resident here in University of Pittsburgh, which was a 6-year program after the 4 years of college and 4 years of medical school at WVU. And I did a year of research there and really found a passion for research, which I think, takes me back to Shepherd. The first research I ever did was with Carol Ploutz, who was there for quite some time, and again had a really interesting background. She had research papers on the cover of Science, which are the biggest impact factor of any journal anywhere in the world. There's special faculty there at Shepherd, and she kind of taught me the scientific method, as Dr. Litterjing and others did. So all that, I think, goes back to those folks. And I do a lot of writing with research now. I remember having great English professors there, so it still impacts my life. But getting through residency and that personal, I think, relationship with people, I think, was something that, as I mentioned, working with patients and others, and in residency with co-residents, and the grind of working so many hours. And then after residency, I was lucky enough to get in to fellowship in Vail, Colorado, at the Stedman Clinic and Stedman Philippon Research Institute in Vail, Colorado. So I was there for a year, and then came back here in Pittsburgh. So when I was a fellow there, I covered U.S. ski team and continued to. So I've been to Austria, Kazakhstan, Switzerland, Copper Mountain, all over the world, covering the different ski team events. And I've done more of the free ski or freestyle ski, the snowboard, half pipe kind of stuff. So it's just such a different environment. I've covered a lot of high school football games and up with that, but the U.S. ski team is really a exciting, different, unique opportunity. As those athletes, it's not as much financial background or support as there is in the NFL. It's such a big business, and the ski folks, they're traveling all over the world week to week, and are so thankful for you to be there. And it's such a different trauma, to be ready to put in, chest tubes or decompress a pneumothorax, and really significant trauma. Where I remember being in Kazakhstan with the moguls team, these people are however many, I don't know, 30, 20 feet in the air, spinning, landing on your head in Kazakhstan, and the closest hospital that has an MRI is going to take you from the mountain a long time, and to take a flight to get to Germany to have medical care that the United States would want, it's probably a 7-hour flight, and to get that airplane there takes hours. So it's a lot of planning. The closest X-ray was not so close to the mountain, so these emergency action plans and planning how you're even going to get there, the language is so different, is quite complex and interesting, and takes some other stress and other also interests as part of it. And like you mentioned, I've been lucky enough to help with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last 5 to 6 years. So that's been a certainly unique opportunity there, with really great ownership and staff, and really wonderful athletic trainers and medical staff. So it's been certainly a blessing, and started, with growing up in Clarion at Shepherd. It's really been a great opportunity.
So as a young kid being from Clarion, were you a Steelers fan, and now you're at this moment, it has to be surreal at some
Yeah,
level, right?
it's nice. It's special. When I was a resident, I covered the Pittsburgh Penguins hockey team, and I remember as a kid, going with my brother and my dad to hockey games, and staying up late at the games, and driving an hour and a half down to the arena. And I have such vivid memories. My Tom Barrasso flipping me a puck in the pre-op, and then being there as one of the doctors with, Sidney Crosby and Marc-Andre Fleury, going to those games in the Eastern Conference Final and the Stanley Cup Final, and
Oh,
and
wow.
and seeing them win, two Stanley Cups is pretty awesome as a kid. And going to watch the banner raise and being in the locker room and stuff is it's a really interesting learning experience. And obviously these just normal people too, so they're thankful. Sometimes it's hard to realize that you're the expert there. They're in a very vulnerable situation, so it's a stressful thing for the players and the ownership. And the Steelers, just like I mentioned, such a wonderful organization with the ownership, and they're so supportive, and such a great organization that really cares about the right things. And they're one of the few teams that still go to away to training camp in Latrobe. So going out to Latrobe for training camp is really special, where all the players are staying in the dorms. And it's really awesome to see that interaction, and getting other free agents coming from other places, getting their perspective of other organizations. And the NFL is a really interesting organization, with going to the NFL Physician Society meetings and the NFL Combine. It's always improving, and they always have the goal to keep it safe and let that trickle down to younger sports, which obviously is the important thing, I think, as well.
So you're involved in all of those types of things as well, like going to the draft and those types of things in your role there?
Yeah, the NFL Combine is a big part of the process, where examining the players, and um, having them getting their history and looking at their MRIs. And it's a complex decision making for the ownership
Yeah.
and coaches and general managers. So obviously Dr. Bradley is the head team physician, so I help support he and Gabe Umponza, who's the athletic trainer, who's really been great, and John Norwig, who's the athletic trainer before that. And my other partner, Craig Morrow, is the assistant Steelers physician. And it's just really a great group, and always something to learn from Dr. Bradley, who's done this for just decades and decades, and the athletic training staff as well, who work with these guys day to day. So they all really rely on them.
So how do you manage all that? Like, I mean, between, being in Kazakhstan or overseas with the ski and snowboard team with the Steelers, like, when are you home? Because
Yeah,
it sounds like you're everywhere all the time.
yeah, I like doing it. The Friday night football stuff is still special. I cover high school football games on Friday night, but I'm really lucky, I think, from the support of my parents as a kid. There were certain workers. My mom, grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, and my dad is a hard worker as well. And um, my wife, who I met at Shepherd, we graduated the same year. She's a hustler, and talking about Shepherd, she worked at NASA for 2 years after Shepherd, and in Palo Alto in California, and has done really amazing things. And that's how I've been able to, I think, to have all these opportunities. She's been so supportive. I've been lucky enough to have the opportunities from Shepherd and WVU, and going through residency. So she really gets it, because she's been there with me since 2009, whenever we were finishing up at Shepherd, and understands, I think, what drives me and her, and how to manage me and time. And now we have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. So
Oh my gosh.
certainly
Wow.
it's certainly it's complicated with research. And it's obviously, as it's really the people around you that allow you to do these things. Like, and my our staff here at our office, and our nurses and PAs, and front desk people, and people who answer the phones, are so supportive, and understand, I think, the role of our first most important thing is taking care of patients day to day. So the focus is that. And I think doing the best you can with, delegating tasks for other people that are hungry to get better and learn. And it's just like any area of life, the support system, and my wife understanding, being on call at the hospital, or a night game that starts at 8:20 with the Steelers. You miss bedtime, and she's going to be alone, and get back until 1 a.m. But it's part of the gig, and what she signed up for, and thankfully is so understanding and supportive, and a rock. So yeah, I think that's the only way. There's no way I'm not doing this all myself. It's everyone else around me,
Right.
thankfully, helping me out.
And I want to get back to that idea here in a moment, but I did see something that I found interesting in kind of your profile. If I read this correctly, not only have you had all these kind of international travels with, these different organizations, but did you also study in Russia for a moment? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't bring that up. That was such an awesome opportunity through Shepherd. When I was there, I was trying to find a place. I wanted to study abroad, and with science majors, I think in particular, I mean, it's probably changed now. There weren't very many opportunities
Right.
to do, study abroad opportunities there. In the arts, sometimes it seemed easier, or history, or whatever. But the same thing, missing spring ball for football, or fall was not really the best option. And if you'd missed those classes, you probably would not be able to graduate, on the same time period. So I found between my junior and senior year, there was a summer program at Lomonosov University, which is MGU, Moscow State University, which is their big university. So I talked Brett Zirkle, my good friend who's the PhD lawyer out in San Diego now, who was I guess he graduated a year after us in 2010. He took a fifth year and played quarterback for Shepherd. Um, he and I went, and one of my other friends from high school went and spent, I guess it was about 10 weeks in Moscow, and it was just outstanding. We took, a course with was called operative surgery, where we learned a lot of different techniques from surgeons over there, and did surgeries with them on rats and rabbits, and we took different science classes with professors that taught, and met a lot of other students that were there, and became really good friends with some of those people. And honestly, I keep in touch with some of those Russian friends still. They're really amazing people. So that was just such a unique, awesome opportunity in
Yeah.
Moscow, and just something certainly I'll never forget. Always think about just funny things that happened in the cultural and educational opportunities to study abroad program that they allowed us to do at Shepherd is just amazing.
Yeah, it is. When you said it was, when I kind of read that, I think you were spot on, right? You don't normally think of international study opportunities for undergraduates in the sciences, right? You would think
Right,
of that kind of more at either master's or pre-doctoral level type of
right.
scenarios, right? So I thought that was really interesting kind of hearing that. And has there ever been a moment where you're doing something today, whether you're doing a surgery or you're doing a consultation, where you look back and go, you know what? Actually, I learned something back when I was in Russia that could actually fit this moment. Would
Yeah,
be
I
kind
mean
of
they
an
had,
interesting comparison, right? When you talk about
yeah,
kind of the methods, if you will, from
right.
those folks.
Yeah, I just spent a month doing a traveling fellowship in Europe through our sports society, which is the American Orthopedic Society of Sports Medicine, AOSSM, which is just an organization I love, and it's one of our big sports society. And I was lucky enough with three other people to travel around Europe, um, in I guess it was end of April until the end of May, and seeing the different anatomic history in those places really brought me back to think of Russia. We took anatomy classes whenever we were in Russia, and they just have these amazing anatomical dissections of all different kinds of unique pathologies, and all different types of things that I've never seen before and probably never will. Basically a lab where all these specimens where you could learn from. And I was really set up well, I think, for my anatomy opportunities at WVU and medical school, thanks to that, because I'd seen these unique things before. And on the weekends, we would go with some of the surgeons and do dissections and different surgical approaches on cadavers. And obviously, it's such a gift to provide those for educational purposes from the families. So I definitely think about things like that all the time, which some stories are pretty funny and impressive, and other ones are certainly very impactful, and it's continue to be. So for sure, it's a great point.
Yeah. So here's again, just kind of looking through your profile and things like that. Can you give me a sense of kind of two things, right? What do you find in the similarities between US Olympic athletes and NFL professional athletes? At the same time, what are something that stands out to you as such a big difference between those two types of groups?
Yeah, it's definitely different backgrounds depending on what sport you play. People that are hockey players from Canada certainly have different perspectives and different upbringings a lot of times than some folks in the NFL who grew up in the inner city with less opportunity. But obviously, the same drive and interest and uh, desire to remain healthy and appropriately be kept on the field. And one thing that's really interesting about the NFL is I think they really do it right, and the Steelers do it right. That really the safe and right thing for the player and longevity of the athlete, the longevity of their life, long-term implications is really considered, which I think maybe some people wouldn't realize, and that was all the testament to the ownership and Dr. Bradley to really do the right thing for people. And that's what you see across the board. But, these athletes are so driven and so amazing. I was in Val d'Isere, France, covering a big air event, and you see these guys that are passionate, working on this and that, focusing on this. But then afterwards, you go ski with them, or they go do this backcountry ski back to their hotel, and they're just kids that are loving what they do. It's the same thing as everything. It's just like
Yeah,
such a passion. And it's refreshing to see, just like I love what I do. I'm sure, you guys love what you do. It's just, it makes them giddy still. You see, an NFL player that's been in the league and they're, late 30s, 40s, whatever, and they just still love it.
yeah.
It's invigorating for yourself and for other people to watch. They do it for the right reasons. And it's refreshing. You watch things on TV and the money and the complex inner workings about decision making, but if you peel the layers back, it's these young kids or uh, adults that have done it for decades or a short time. They're just so passionate about it, and the opportunity to help them along the way when such a hard, like I mentioned, vulnerable situation is really a lucky a gift that we're able to do, because it's stressful and hard. For, like, you went through your rotator cuff surgery. This is how they make their living,
Yeah.
their kids, their future. There's a lot on the line, and if they can't perform, it's stressful. But you have to balance, obviously, the right thing to do for them long term. So it's a special relationship that that Jim Bradley and these other athletic trainers and doctors that I mentioned really have done an amazing job of teaching others, and to watch and to learn, and try to take those on to, so same perspectives on to gain the trust of the athlete, and have them realize that you're on their side, because it's hard to trust anyone, a medical perspective, a medical professional, whoever. You're meeting them in Switzerland for the first time, and you hurt your shoulder. Like, how do I know this guy's knows what they're
Yeah.
doing? It's a special opportunity. But like I mentioned, it's just the drive of these people, and just amazing things that they can do is just, it's just special to be able to observe these people.
Yeah, I would think so, right? Like, yeah, I think you're spot on hearing that just around, excuse me, the fact that you people don't recognize that relationship between athletic trainers and doctors and these athletes, right? Regardless of what level it's at, whether it's
Right.
NFL or what have you, or even probably down to high school Friday Night
Yeah.
Lights, right?
Just as
Where there's
important.
so
Right.
much trust in that moment that people probably just don't recognize that enough. So that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah, the
So
parents and
yeah,
as Jimmy Andrews, a legendary sports medicine doctor, is now retired. He operated on every, Roger Clemens. There's all these articles about how much money he made for these athletes after getting them back. And he always would say, "If mama happy, no one's happy. You got to keep mom happy and engaged." And it's true. It all goes back
yeah.
to family. So that's who support is. And, when push comes to shove, who's there for you to support all those people through stressful college decision making, athletics, whatever. It's such an important thing. And again, Shepherd, I think, really fostered that, and reasons it's real special to me.
Yeah. So I want to come back to one final kind of thought here, and you really have kind of brought it in, wrapped it up really nicely, honestly, is, all the experiences that you've talked about, you've really given a lot of credit to other folks that have kind of been with you throughout this journey, right? Obviously from your very first surgery with Dr. Bradley all the way through to where you are now. What advice or thoughts would you give to somebody who is either a fellow alumnus that's listening to this, or even a Shepherd student or potential student for not only Shepherd but anywhere, around how to build that network or build that support system? I mean, for somebody who's had as many amazing experiences as you've had, you're right. There's a lot of people that were involved in that. So I'd love to just hear your thoughts or advice to folks who may be watching, who are thinking, how do I build that village, if you will?
Yeah, I think you're right. That's the key. It's the support you get from others. And I think it's just, as I mentioned, that you have to find what drives you, your passion and what is important to you and what, gets you out of bed in the morning. And I really like building those relationships with people. So I love, our AOSSM society that I mentioned and opportunities I just had and with the European Society. It's it's not that difficult, I think, if you really have the passion to do it. As a medical student or a college student, there aren't that many people that ask to, observe you in surgery or shadow you. And spending the time to realizing that's, what you're interested in, what you want to do is actually not done that commonly. And, say you want to go into, you're in medical school or whatever, you want to go into orthopedic surgery. It's quite, it's it's quite easy to show your interest and do research and be reliable. And if you show up, every day and work hard, you go to the conferences of whatever you're interested in, you go out of your way to, meet the professors at Shepherd that you're interested in, and you have a real mentor that supports you and they want you to succeed. And something you don't realize as a mentee, the mentors get just as much out of it and as the mentees. And something certainly I'm not, a master mentor like all these other folks that have helped me, but through leadership classes and talking with them, it's really it really is something that makes you feel good to see someone that you helped along as a resident or you're a professor, you help a student along, and to see them succeed. There's nothing more, more that drives you and fills your bucket, if you will, than seeing that. So realizing and not being afraid to ask, you obviously have to do it in the right way and not be pushy, but ask for opportunities if you're interested in doing research at Shepherd with this person, get to know them, figure out what you're interested in, because that's going to keep you coming back and that's going to keep you hungry to do the good work and being reliable. Now doing research with residents and fellows, if you don't have a passion for it, they're probably not going to be as aggressive to finish these projects. But if you have an interest and drive and you're finishing projects and say, wow, this person did a great job writing this paper and they got it back to you in time, you're going to support that person getting into fellowship more. You're going to support that person into getting, traveling fellowship. You're going to support them getting into committees. So I think, being reliable and honest and if you're going to do something, finish the work and getting to know people and realizing you're not a hindrance on, asking for an opportunity or asking for this or that. And I think going out of your way to make those opportunities, sitting back is not going to get you probably where you want to be. If you have that passion, just wake up and do it. It's like with anything in life, like I mentioned.
Awesome. Well, that is great advice to wrap up. So, Justin, we appreciate you taking the time. I know you got an extremely busy schedule, just kind of looking and hearing your stories today. We appreciate it. And those of you that have joined us today, thank you so much. Justin, we look forward to hopefully having you back on campus at some point, whether it be for homecoming or whatnot. Love to have you back. And for those who've joined us, thank you. And if you too, who've watched this, have somebody that you would recommend for one of these great stories, we would love to hear that. Please reach out to myself or to Katie through any of the social media connections. Dr. Arner, thank you so much for your time today. And we look forward to talking to everybody next time. Thanks.
Thanks so much,
Thanks.
Justin. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Katie and Rand. It's really special. I love Shepherd, so thanks for the opportunity to talk tonight. Appreciate your time as well.
Wonderful.
Anytime.
Cheers.
You have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.